Okay, this is the class on how to conduct funerals. Hopefully, you guys are in the right class. Just kidding. Um, this is on themed Sunday school, which is kind of our our go-to at our church. So this handout is about 3 pages in, I think. Looks like this right here. And so those are some pictures, live pictures from our Sunday school. Okay, so once upon a theme. So why do a theme? I know there's some Sunday schools that don't do a theme. So first of all, when I say theme, just to for the naming of it, I don't mean like the topic such as the lesson. The theme is like might be army or space, or it's the decor, like the construction theme in the lobby and in the sanctuary. So um, one of the reasons that we do themes, and when we switched over several years ago, we had separate classrooms, and we kind of switched to we still have a few separate ones, but we do 5 through 11, kind of a larger classroom style. And when we switched over to that, we started right off the bat with themes, and we used a outside curriculum, and now we write our own. But one of the reasons is that kids will often forget a lesson, and that's why object lessons are so good. But they might forget a lesson or even a Bible story that you do, especially kids that have no point of reference. They didn't grow up in church. They don't know what you're talking about. David and Goliath, that you killed him with a little rock. Yeah, right. And so they don't have a reference point. So sometimes they forget that and they don't relate to it as well. But if you have a couple of pirates sword fighting, they'll remember that. And then if you can kind of insert some lesson into that, that's why we do theme. And another thing that I like to do, and this, I have to speak from where I'm at, okay? So I know every Sunday school's not like our Sunday school, but I just speak from where I'm at, and then this does apply in different situations. It can apply in a small classroom even to a certain extent. But we do interactivity in our Sunday school. And so part of that theme is, or even in a Bible story, is we'll have kids be a part of that. So it's we just wrapped up a theme that was Pirates and Navy, and so it's the Navy team is going on a rescue mission. Come on, let's go. You guys are all Navy, or we'll have bad guys and good guys, and we'll throw balls at each other and have a big battle. So it's all part of a theme, and that sticks with them, and they'll remember that. And I have kids from other churches. Sometimes when we do conferences or something, they'll come up and ask me, "What's the next theme for our conference?" And so they remember the theme. And to me, it's better than them just saying, like they remember the snack, right? And so we want them to remember the theme. So we kind of go all out, and they can, go play on a playground or whatever, or go down some tunnels or whatever. So this is kind of why we do the theme. They don't always remember the lesson, but they'll remember what the theme is about. And then that theme, we have it ongoing. And so they want to come back. But here's the other thing is, with a theme, is my goal. And so one of the things I do at our church is, when I walk in the door and I'm getting ready to build a theme, is I get down, kind of like Brother Bradshaw said, I get down on my knees at their level, and I look at the room, and what do I want kids to see when they walk in? What is the first impression that they get? And so it's upstairs in a building that we have. So I'll go up the stairs, I'll walk in the door, and I'll start looking. And that's basically how I start designing a theme. And so when kids walk in, again, referencing the sanctuary, you walk in and you know what the theme is. It's like, oh, this is cool. There's decor, there's construction and everything. And so a lot of times I talk about immersive. I want it to be immersive. I want them to walk into a theme and to basically step into another world. I want them to, there's a thing in theater called suspend disbelief. I want them to suspend reality, leave it at the door for a second. They walk into another world, and here they are. Now they're in the jungle, and there's sound effects happening, and there's, lighting and decor. And so they feel like they're in a whole other world. And so the reason that we do all of this, and the reason that we do a lot of times some of the goofiness, that we do, the skits and all the silly stuff. I heard Brother Booker, I think, talk about it one time. It's like you're doing all this funny stuff and you have them engaged, you have their attention, you open up their brains and stuff some word in it, and then you got to get their attention again. And so this is why we do all of the things that we do. But themes, this is one of the reasons why, is when they walk into another world and they are surrounded by all of these sounds and decor and characters, you have their attention. They're enraptured and they want to be a part of it. So, okay, so I want to move on to the next thing. So that's kind of just arguing my case. Um, and so how to build a theme. So I think I have some blanks on there. I got different notes than I do for my handout. So let me just look here. So make sure you get them all filled in. Okay, so topic is the foundation for a theme. And what I mean by that is topic is the driver. And that is, if you're going to teach on the Holy Ghost, or you're going to teach on, let's say, oneness or something, that is the driver for the theme. That's where I start. And so when we do 16 weeks themes typically, but when I start, I'll make a layout of what are we going to teach for these next weeks, whatever it is. And so how are we going to teach this? What are we going to teach? We're going to teach on worship. We're going to teach on oneness, relationship with God, whatever it may be. And so that's where I start. And that is the driver for everything else. And so have that outlined first. Now, I'll admit there has been times when I'm like, oh, this would be cool. Let's do an army, theme or whatever. But typically or analytically, that's where I start, is with the topic. The topic is the driver. And so your topic should be your overarching guide. That kind of is guiding everything that you do. It drives the theme outline, even the characters, everything you do,
I'll talk about that a little bit more.
The decor to a certain extent.
This is the schedule.
If you know that it's kind of like if you're going to do an object lesson,
all of my segments,
then you have to have supplies for that object lesson, right?
If you go over 5 minutes, your 4-year-old is not there anymore, unless it's a craft. Unless it's something that they have their hands on.
Think of supplies.
But anything else, if you're doing
that
the
you might
memory
need,
verse,
like we're going to talk about the Holy Ghost on the day of Pentecost. Somebody have a blower, and so we're going to use a blower, and this might be in the theme. We're going to have a storm in the theme, so we're going to use a blower, and then when we get to the lesson, we can reference the Bible story and we can reference the theme story of, remember how that wind was blowing when we were in the storm? That's how it was on the day of Pentecost. So this is all. If you can start with the outline of what you're going to teach, then the theme can support that and can supplement that, and you can add things into your theme. We did. We had in the pirate theme we just did. We had a trap door on the upper deck, and we only used it like 2 times, but we built it for something very specific that we wanted, to happen in the theme. So. And then story is the framework. Story is the framework. And so what I mean by that, and it's interesting to me, I've been working with Brother Booker and several other people kind of across the nation. We've been talking about some different curriculum ideas and everything. And it's interesting to me that we are, it seems to be almost the only ones, I'm sure we're not, but we do continuous story. And so what I mean by that, I'll just give you kind of a nutshell with our theme we just did with Pirates and Navy. With Pirates and Navy, we had this ship that we created. And so the ship was the quote unquote sanctuary. And so it was just a little bit smaller than this room. And then of course it'd be kind of long ways. And in the ship, we had like a mast and some rope and stuff. And then we had pirate flags and decor ropes hanging and everything. And then we would switch it over. It wasn't really every other. It was just kind of depended on where the script was going. But we would switch over to Navy. And so it went from like these big heavy like ship ropes to like white ropes and then American flags instead of pirate flags, and that kind of thing. So, but the story was that we started out, and there's this young man, as an actor, but the young man, William, that wants to be in the Navy. And so William wants to be in the Navy, and then we get attacked by pirates on that day. This is week 1 of a 16-week theme. We get attacked by pirates, and William is scared. And so he goes and hides and ends up getting kidnapped by pirates. And so the whole storyline is, when we go back and forth, is we have William, who is now kidnapped on the pirate ship. So that's week 2. He's on the pirate ship, and the pirates are treating him bad and treating him rough. He doesn't know what he's in for. And then we go back to the Navy ship, the next week, and there's his friend Betty. She's really worried about William. So in all of this is tying in with our lessons. And so there's one point where Betty doesn't want to do any of her job because she's so worried about William, and she's just sitting down depressed because she doesn't want to do anything. She's just, why aren't we going to rescue William? And so the captain has to come and talk to her and tell her, hey, we are going to rescue William, but we still have a job to do. And so basically it's like 14 weeks of he's kidnapped, but William has growth during this time. And so he actually starts to influence the pirates. And so there's Captain Patch, and Captain Patch is a bad guy, but he's got kind of a good heart. And then there's First Mate Scar, and First Mate Scar he's evil. He's just black-hearted and he's evil. He's the right-hand man of Captain Patch, and he hates William, gets into fights with him and everything. And then we have Scab, who is the dunce, and he's First Mate Scar's right-hand man, and tries to act like First Mate Scar, trips and falls. And so anyway, so all these characters, and the kids know them intimately. They're like, what's going to happen to William next week? So the storyline is the framework. And just like with a theme, where you can build a theme and you have these things that you want to teach, and so you can use the theme to supplement that, the story even more so. So now you have this story, and I know not everybody writes their own scripts, but I'm just telling you how I build a theme. And so you have this story, and now you can work it to where, well, William, we want to teach about being a witness, and so William starts to witness to Captain Patch and starts to tell him about why he doesn't do these other things. And so stories can help engage the kids, and it gives the option or the opportunity to reiterate whatever the lesson is. So we're big on Bible stories too, and that's not really totally what this class is about, but we do Bible stories with fully costumed actors and sound effects, and we act them out, and they're interactive, and kids get out of their seat and they're part of the Bible story. So we do that every Sunday. And so those two things create powerful, powerful lessons, because they can tie into those, and they remember them for, way down the line. I mean, I have a 6-year-old, and we have a boy that's been around our house for a long time. And the other day they were playing Sunday school. And so they were going through they did the rules and everything, but then they were doing the Bible story. It was really cool. So that it does stick with them. But the other thing with the storyline is that it can be a hook. The storyline can be a hook and keep kids coming back. So you can leave cliffhangers. And so, like Brother Zach, like Kingdom Kids, right? At the Kingdom Kids conference, you can leave cliffhangers. What's going to happen? What's going to happen to William? Oh no, Captain or Scar said he's going to have to walk the plank next week. And so, they're telling Mom, no, I can't skip next week. I got to go. We had some people in our church that they had planned a camping trip, and for the family, and it went over the Sunday, and they ended up cutting it short because the kids were complaining about not being able to go to Sunday school. And so they cut their camping trip short so they could come to Sunday school. So the storyline can be a hook and keep kids coming back. And so I think there's a big advantage, and you don't have to. I mean, the other way that you can do it, especially if it's a smaller situation, is you can have characters that show up. And so you don't have to necessarily have a continuous storyline, but you can have characters that show up. And when I do characters, I typically, kind of the foundations for my characters is your hero, your antagonist, and then your villain, your protagonist. And then I almost always will have at least a good dunce. And so the good dunce is somebody that the kids relate to. They love him because he's silly, he's scared, he messes up, and so they relate to him. They like the dunce. And then a lot of times I'll have the bad dunce too, and the kids kind of like him too, but the bad dunce just is for comic relief. And the other thing, I guess, the other thing that can help with a bad dunce is we have, we have a lot of, I guess you could call them thematic elements. So I was joking with Brother Booker earlier. I couldn't find the light switch and the hallway was dark. I was like, maybe I should have left the lights off because this is about theme Sunday school. But a lot of times kids come in and we do 5 through 11, and sometimes we'll have parents try to sneak their 4-year-old in. But it backfires almost always because they start crying. They don't know there's sound effects, fog machines, lights, and people sword fighting, and we have dynamic openings. So as soon as kids walk in, there's something happening. And so when they when they come in, they're just like, oh, this is too much. And so so they don't really get to sneak in. But if you have these elements, this keeps the kids coming back, have that storyline, have that hook, and they'll keep on coming. So okay. Characters are the facade that brings it all together. That's on your outline. So characters are the facade that brings it all together. So when I create these characters, like I said, I'll create those different ones that kids can relate to. And then the villain should be, we're not supposed to teach kids how to hate, but the kids should almost hate the villain. The villain's a bad guy, and he's evil, and he's dumb. He's a big meanie. And so, that was what I was going to say. I lost my train of thought. That was what I was going to say about the bad dunce. Is sometimes the kids are scared, and so you can make the bad guys dumb enough or silly enough where the kids are not so scared anymore. In fact, years ago, this is when we had to set up. We used to set up every Saturday night and take down every Sunday after Sunday school. And so we had a setup, and it was pretty cool. We had all these. It was like big round trees, and it was dark, and there was some netting, and we were doing what's that famous Pilgrim's Progress was the theme we were doing. Well, we had these evil guys. They were like guards. Well, we had this rash for a couple of weeks or a few weeks, the kids just getting scared, and like a lot of them. And so I was like, we got to fix this. We don't want to change our story, but we got to fix this somehow. So we. One of the guys in our Sunday school wrote this song. He had this little guitar, and he said, I'm going to sing this song. It's pretty short. It's not very long. I'm a big bad guard. And so and he made all these verses to it and everything. And so these guards would bumble around, and he would sing this song. And so it helped the kids, now they weren't scared because they were just these big bad guards that were dumb. And so that's one of the ways we use the dunce. So characters. One of the things that I try to do is, does everyone know what? Okay, and then so a few things like with the dunce. The dunce is somebody that the kids should relate to, and they're funny, they're silly. The leader. A quick side note, a long time ago, years ago, me and 2 other guys, we used to meet and we would brainstorm ideas and stuff. And so we were writing a script. And something I learned a long time ago is when you write a script, if you can't think of a name or a location, just write anything. Bob, it doesn't matter. Just write anything and keep on going, and then come back to it and fix your names and whatever. So we were doing that. And so we wrote... we were like, okay, well, we need somebody in this. We have all characters. We need somebody that's kind of like facilitating, keeping these kids in line for this scene or whatever. We got to have a staff person. So we called him Sunday School Guide Dude. And so I still have notes to this day that you're reading through it and it says SSGD, Sunday School Guide Dude. So anyway, but your Sunday School Guide Dude or dudette, your Sunday School person that is the teacher, or it could be a character, but you need some kind of authoritative figure, and that should be somebody the kids respect and they like, but they respect, and that can kind of bring some order to the class, especially if it's super interactive like ours is. We call it small letters, controlled, and chaos. So, and then they should almost, like I said, almost hate the villain, and develop these characters so that they're relatable. Kids, they understand what's happening. It's that caricature. They understand kids. Okay, a few other things with themes and atmosphere. And I do have pictures. A lot of times, I don't know, I didn't know until the last minute that we could have a screen. And so I've taught a similar class the last couple of years on decor, and people have asked for pictures. So maybe I'll try to get a screen next time. I don't know. But I do have pictures, but a few of the things that we do that I think are transferable anywhere is, first of all, you can take a room like this, and I don't know what this room is. Is it, Brother Ray, is this a Sunday school room or school? It's a classroom for a Christian school? Okay, so this room has to be back like this on Monday. But if the facility has it available on Sunday, man, I could make this room where you walk in and it's a different world. And you can do this, it takes a little bit of prep on the front end, but you can make this to where you can set it up the night before, probably not on Sunday morning, but you can set it up on Saturday night, take it down Sunday morning. We did it for years. Now we have a permanent space. It's awesome. We have a backstage and everything, but you can do it. And so I'll throw out a few ideas, but just a couple things that we do is decor is a big thing. And then we make interactive spaces. And so somebody was just asking me about, do we use the same kind of framing like what's on the stage right now? So on the stage right now is what's called theater flats. And so it's basically like 1x4s and Luan plywood. So we do that some, but most of our framing is full on framing because it's interactive. So there actually has to be a door that you can walk through. It doesn't look like a door, it's a door. And then, it has to be strong enough to hold maybe an upper deck or something. So we go up on the upper deck. And then we usually build a playground. So again, we have the space for this, so we're able to do this. And then that'll go for 16 weeks, and then it all comes down. And so our theme just came down recently, our pirate theme. And so that's big and kind of grandiose, but that's kind of what we do. But the other thing that happens is music is a really big thing for us. And when I say music, I'm talking about theme music. And so we use a program called QLab. Now this is a Mac only program. It is free, but we use a program called QLab. There's all kinds of programs out there. Sound Planet's another popular one that can be used on Mac or PC, and it's free. But there's all. I've used Keynote and PowerPoint before, way back in the day. But QLab is great, and QLab's used in big Broadway productions. But we have theme music going basically constantly. I mean, unless it's other kind of music. But we have theme music. So when the kids come in, we always have something we call it. It's called dynamic opening. I think Brother Booker calls it creative intro. But we have dynamic opening, and in our Sunday school, we go into everybody goes into service in the beginning, in worship service, and then we have like a transition fellowship time, and then the kids are dismissed a little bit before preaching, and then they come to Sunday school during that time. So what happens is they come up the stairs, and there's something happening whenever the kids walk in to the room. There's something happening. And so I wish I had a video of like one of the things that we did is the kids are walking in. We had all these pirates, they're sword fighting, and they're getting on the chairs where we have benches. They're getting on the benches, stepping over kids, excuse me, and they're doing sword fight. And so when the kids walk in, they're just surrounded by all of this happening, and they know they're not going to be bored. There's no chance. And so we use that music constantly, and this could be as simple as having something on your phone. If you have an iPhone, QLab has something called Go button, I think, and you can load it up with music, and you can just tap that, have a Bluetooth speaker, and if you want that, I can get that for sure for you. I have it on my phone, and I can show you what it is. But and so you can have that theme music. So if you had a classroom that's just this half, just a small classroom, because I know many of you have ages split up, and so you have a smaller classroom. But still, if you walk in and you have, some stuff hanging from the ceiling that makes it look like this is a drop ceiling, so you can tuck some netting in there, have stuff on the walls, and kids walk in and you hear the music going, and maybe you have a bubble machine right by the door, and then there's some kind of action happening, and most of the time that action is either a preview of the Bible story that we're going to be doing later, or a portion that we're not going to act out later, but it's part of that same Bible story, or it might be a preview of the theme. Like one we did not too long ago is the bandits from the Good Samaritan were on the stage with a whiteboard planning their ambush. And so they were on the, but they were talking loud and being really funny and everything. So, okay, so that's a couple of things we do, and then special effects we do, like we use a fog machine, and then we'll do storms, and with storms we'll use like fans and blowers. Bounce house blowers work really good because they're a little stronger, or a carpet dry thing. So we'll set the fans up ahead of time. One trick with this is find some greenery or bushes and put it really close, because you don't see air. And so if you have something flapping around, and it adds to it, like the flags in our pirate thing was really cool. But and then the other thing that we've done before is we'll have a staff person hide behind one of the fans with a spray bottle of water, and then just spray it. And so it's just like a mist. It's just a little bit, so the kids walk in, there's storm going, and they're like, wait, something's wet, And so those are just a few of the special effects we've used. And then with, you can add sound effects with your theme music too. You can have different sound effects. Okay, I think that's kind of covers that. Now, a few ideas for creating for decor. So first of all, really quick, how many does 20 or less in a classroom? How many is doing 20 or less in a classroom? Okay. All right. And then everybody else is more than that. Okay. So in a smaller classroom or a bigger classroom, but we have benches now. We used to sit on the floor. We'd have the kids sit on the floor, and then we built some benches out of wood, and then we finally just bought some bench, lifetime benches or whatever. But one thing that works well is some type of vehicle. It can be a ship, it could be a spaceship, it could be a train, it could be a hot air balloon, it could be, because you can go somewhere with it. And then if you have access, if you had this room and then this room, then you can go somewhere. That's something that we do a lot, is we'll go somewhere. But if you are using seating, one of the ways that you can make that interactive is by getting up and moving the seating for something. So for example, you could, if we had this class, I don't know how many this is, let's just say it's 15 or 20, is we could say, okay, everybody get up and let's put all the benches in the middle. And okay, you guys are Israelites, and you guys are Philistines. And then we used to just use wadded up paper. That works fine. But we bought some of those, they're not Nerf, but they're soft like Nerf golf balls, practice golf balls. So that's what we do battles with now. And so we'll hand out their balls and okay, 1, 2, 3. And then they start throwing. They love it, So, and then we'll instruct the ones that you got to die. Okay, we need some good actors. Can you die? And so then they die. So anyway, we'll. How am I doing on time? When am I supposed to be done? Does anybody know? What time? I'm supposed to be in 2:50. Oh my. Okay. All right. So really quick, let me hit my last couple notes. So to keep it going, common theme lengths are 9-week themes. And so the pros and cons of, I'll try to do pros and cons, but pros and cons. So 9 weeks, it's a short theme, and it's easy to start. And when I say these themes, I guess I'm approaching it from the perspective of writing your own stuff. But you can do this. We started out with, it's called Kids Power Hour. It's by Pentecostal Publishing House, I think, or Word Press or something. Kids Power. It's a very good curriculum. We did 2 of them. And then we started writing our own. They're in 13-week booklets. But what we did is I think the first one was a boat, and it showed a boat over in the corner. Well, the very first time we did it big enough where the kids could sit in a boat. And so that we started off, we kind of just put it on steroids, and so we made it bigger. And so you can use a curriculum that's already built if you're not ready to bite that off and start writing your own stuff. You can use a curriculum that's already built and then still do this stuff, still do this big stuff with the decor and everything. But 9 weeks is not very common, but that is a length you can do. And so that makes it easier to get started because it's shorter. And so you can just get rolling. The downside is if you put a bunch of work into it, it's only 9 weeks. Then you got to tear it down and do another set. And then 13 weeks is the most common. That's a quarter. So 13 weeks, January, February, March, April, May, June, So 13 weeks is most common. And then we do 16 weeks, and we try to do 3. And so 16 weeks, the main pro is less changeover. But you got to keep it interesting if it's going to go that long. But I just like how it works out, 4, 4, 4. And so anyway, okay, I am over my time by a minute. I hope you guys got something out of this. If you have any questions, I meant to have time for questions and answers. I don't know. Does anybody have a burning question really quick? Yes.
What was that app you were talking about?
The app, yes. I think it's called Go Button. Anybody else have any other questions?
Yes.
Yes.
Like when it comes to going over rules, maybe giveaways, say like that is not all written in your scripts usually to follow along.
Yes.
Okay, so it's not like you take, all right, now we're doing rules, and then it goes away. Instead, it's tied in.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Kind of, sort of. It depends on what it is. So we typically start with, we have our dynamic opening, which is, we don't address the kids hardly ever in dynamic opening. Dynamic opening is for while they're being seated. And I know your guys is a little different. You already have kids in the classroom, but ours, they're entering. And so they're entering into this dynamic opening. So dynamic opening, and basically we have one person designated as the last person up. As soon as that person comes in, we know that person comes in, AV guy hits the soundtrack, it changes, and our welcome team comes out. Welcome team comes out and does rules. Now, it might fit within the theme. Like we just finished up a news theme. And so we would have our guy, Gary Gazette, come out, and he would sometimes be the announcer and do the theme. And so, but yeah, so, but then when we'll come in and we've done offering before, sometimes as its own segment, it depends. Or maybe offering is because we got to take up some ransom money to save William, or whatever. So it just depends on how it can tie in. Snack is very often its own element, but then again, we just did one on the 2 sons. About one says that he'll go and help his father and change his mind, says and doesn't. So we did that, and we did this lemonade stand contest, and one followed the instructions, one didn't. And so at the end we had, lemonade, and then we had snack, and so it was part of the, so it just depends on if it can fit really well. So I'll get that. I will get that app. I just gotta find it. Anything else? We're over time. Yes.
Are you? I'm assuming you lead into altar call.
Yes, altar call is. I'm glad you mentioned that. Just did a podcast about this recently. I found out that not every church, every Sunday school does altar call. Not saying shame on you at all, but I would encourage you to always do an altar call. Always. In fact, we often will most of the time we run out of time. We don't finish our script. And we have had times where we ran out and we didn't get to do altar call because we ran out. So we've purposely moved the altar call up to about the middle of the script so that we ensure we always do it. And so, and then if it's a small classroom, an altar call sounds like a big, huge thing that how am I going to do this with 5 kids? You could do it a response to prayer, or response to lesson prayer instead of, okay, Brother Tyler Hodge is going to kick us out. So, okay, we're way over time. Sorry. Thank you, guys.